Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like something was off? The hairstyle that once made you feel confident now seems to take more effort, yet delivers less satisfaction. Your hair feels thinner, drier, and somehow different. You're not alone. After 60, hair goes through dramatic changes, losing volume, becoming more fragile, and often turning silver. Yet so many women continue using the same styling routines they've followed for decades, unaware that these habits might be working against them. You might feel frustrated, wondering why your hair no longer behaves the way it used to. Maybe you've even caught yourself avoiding the mirror, missing the way you once looked and felt. I've seen it happen time and time again in my salon. Women sit in my chair, their voices filled with uncertainty. Why does my hair look so lifeless? Or, I don't feel like myself anymore. But here's the good news. Small, intentional changes can make a world of difference. The right cut, color, and care can bring back that spark in your eyes and the confidence you deserve. Today, we're diving into the 10 most common hair mistakes women over 60 make. Mistakes that may be aging you unnecessarily. More importantly, I'll share simple solutions that can transform not only your hair, but also how you feel about yourself. So stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll see just how easy it is to reclaim a look that celebrates who you are today. You're not imagining it. Your hair has changed. One day, you notice your ponytail feels thinner, your scalp seems more visible, and no matter how much you tease, spray, or fluff, your hair just won't hold the volume it once did. It's frustrating, even disheartening. But here's the truth. Thinning hair after 60 is not just common, it's normal. More than half of all women experience noticeable hair thinning after menopause. It's not because you're doing something wrong, it's biology. As estrogen levels decline, hair follicles produce finer, weaker strands. Your natural growth cycle shortens, meaning fewer hairs are actively growing at any given time, while more remain in the shedding phase. Combine that with decreased scalp circulation, and suddenly, the hair that once framed your face so beautifully begins to lose its fullness. But thinning hair doesn't just change how you look, it can deeply affect how you feel. I'll never forget Margaret, a retired school principal who sat in my chair, her hands gripping the edges as she whispered, "I feel invisible." Her once thick hair had thinned so much that she avoided social events, afraid of being seen. She didn't just want her hair back, she wanted herself back. So what can you do? First, the right cut makes all the difference. A layered style that falls just below the chin adds movement and creates the illusion of volume. Second, using lightweight volumizing products, like mousse or root-lifting foams, can restore body without weighing fine strands down. And finally, consider a supplement with biotin and vitamin D. Always check with your doctor first. It may seem like a small change, but for Margaret, it was life-changing. 6 weeks later, she threw her first dinner party in over a year. "People couldn't stop complimenting my hair," she told me, her eyes shining. If your hair is thinning, you don't have to just accept it. The right approach can bring back not only volume, but also confidence. And once you address thinning, the next step is making sure your hairstyle works for you, not against you. I understand why we hold on to the hairstyles we've loved for decades. That perfectly feathered Farrah Fawcett cut, the chic bob you wore to your first big job interview, or the soft curls that made you feel beautiful when you first fell in love. Our hair carries memories. It's a part of who we are. But here's the hard truth. What worked for you in your 30s or 40s may no longer be doing you any favors. In fact, it could be aging you more than you realize. Think about it. Does your styling routine take longer than it used to, yet leave you feeling less satisfied? Do you find yourself using more hairspray or mousse just to make your hair behave the way it once did? Have the compliments on your hair stopped coming? These are signs that your style might be stuck in the past. And the problem with an outdated hairstyle is that it can instantly place you in a specific era, like a timestamp on your appearance. I'll never forget Barbara, a retired nurse who sat in my chair, her hands nervously smoothing down the same tight perm she'd been getting since 1986. "My husband likes it this way," she admitted. I smiled and asked, But do you? We talked about modernizing her look in a way that still felt like her. Instead of the rigid, structured curls, we softened her style with looser waves and face-framing layers. The shape stayed familiar, but suddenly it looked fresh, effortless, timeless. 2 weeks later, her husband called me personally. "She looks 15 years younger," he said, but more importantly, Barbara was smiling at herself in the mirror again. Updating your hairstyle doesn't mean losing yourself. It means embracing who you are now. Today's styles for women over 60 are all about movement, softness, and natural elegance. Gentle layers add dimension. Side-swept bangs create a flattering frame, and subtle texture replaces the stiff, overly structured cuts of decades past. You don't need a dramatic change, just a thoughtful update. And once you find a cut that enhances your beauty today, the next step is making sure your hair color does the same. Changing your hairstyle can take years off your appearance, but there's another mistake that can have the opposite effect: choosing a hair color that's too dark. Many women hold on to the deep browns and jet blacks of their younger years, believing it keeps them looking vibrant. But in reality, dark, solid colors can create harsh contrasts against maturing skin, emphasizing fine lines and making your complexion appear dull. I see this mistake all the time. Women sit in my chair, frustrated by how stark their hair looks against their face, yet afraid to let go of the color they've worn for decades. Janet, a 71-year-old retired attorney, was one of them. For 25 years, she had dyed her hair the same shade of dark brown. "It's how my husband always remembered me," she said softly, though he had passed 3 years earlier. I knew we had to approach her transition with care. Instead of an abrupt change, we gradually lightened her hair with warm, dimensional highlights. The goal wasn't to erase her past look, but to soften it in a way that complemented her features today. When she finally saw the finished result, her hands flew to her face. "I look brighter," she whispered. And she did. Her skin looked more radiant, her eyes more alive. So what's the right approach? If you have a warm skin tone, consider golden blondes, soft caramels, or warm chestnut browns to create harmony. For cooler undertones, ashy blondes, cool brunettes, or silver-enhancing treatments can be incredibly flattering. And for those embracing their natural gray, subtle blending techniques can add depth while maintaining a sophisticated, effortless look. Most importantly, avoid the dreaded skunk line of stark gray roots against an overly dark base. Instead, opt for multi-dimensional color techniques like balayage or baby lights, which create a softer, more natural transition. Hair color should enhance, not overshadow, your beauty. And once you find the right shade, the next step is ensuring you're using the best products to keep your hair healthy and radiant. Finding the right hair color can make you feel radiant, but if you're using the wrong hair products, even the most beautiful shade won't look its best. One of the biggest mistakes women over 60 make is sticking with the same shampoos, conditioners, and styling products they've used for years, without realizing that their hair's needs have completely changed. As we age, our scalp produces less natural oil, leaving hair drier, finer, and more fragile. At the same time, the structure of each strand becomes more porous, meaning it absorbs and loses moisture differently than before. The rich, creamy conditioner that once made your hair silky might now weigh it down, making it look limp and lifeless. The volumizing mousse you relied on in your 40s could now contain drying alcohols that leave your hair brittle. And those 2-in-1 shampoo-conditioner combos, they might be leaving a waxy buildup that dulls your natural shine. Susan, a 67-year-old client of mine, had been struggling with exactly this. "My hair used to be full and bouncy," she told me, "but now it just feels flat, no matter what I do." When I asked about her routine, she revealed she was still using the same heavy-duty conditioner she had relied on for decades. We switched her to a lightweight volumizing conditioner designed for fine aging hair, and within 2 weeks, she called me ecstatic. "I can see my waves again. My daughter even asked if I got a perm." So what should you be using?
Look for sulfate-free shampoos that cleanse gently without stripping away essential moisture. Opt for conditioners labeled lightweight or volumizing rather than deep conditioning unless your hair is extremely dry. When it comes to styling, replace heavy creams with alcohol-free mousses or lightweight serums to add body without weighing hair down. And always be a label detective. Avoid products with silicones, which can cause buildup, and harsh sulfates, which are too drying for mature hair. The right products can completely transform how your hair looks and feels.
And once you've given your hair the care it deserves, the next step is making sure you're maintaining it with regular trims to keep it looking fresh and healthy. Using the right products can breathe new life into your hair, but if you're not trimming it regularly, even the best products won't give you the results you want. Many women avoid getting regular haircuts, believing that keeping their hair long will make it look fuller. But in reality, skipping trims can make your hair appear thinner, weaker, and less vibrant. I hear it all the time. I'm growing it out, so I don't want to cut it. It sounds logical, but here's what actually happens. As we age, our hair grows more slowly, about 10% slower than it did in our 40s. At the same time, the ends become more fragile and prone to splitting. When split ends go untrimmed, they don't just sit at the bottom of your hair, they continue to fray upward, causing more breakage and making your hair appear even thinner over time. Patricia, a 73-year-old retired teacher, was a perfect example of this. When she came to me, she hadn't had a trim in over a year. Her hair was long, but it looked tired, shapeless, and frizzy no matter how much product she used. We started a simple routine, trimming just half an inch every 10 weeks. 6 months later, her daughter walked into the salon with her, holding a bouquet of flowers. "Mom's confidence is blooming right along with her hair," she told me. "So how often should you trim? If you have a shorter style with defined lines, every 4 to 6 weeks will keep it looking fresh. For shoulder-length hair, a trim every 8 weeks will prevent the ends from looking wispy. And for longer hair, a trim every 10 to 12 weeks will keep your length while maintaining healthy, full-looking strands." I understand that frequent salon visits can add up, but there are ways to make it work. Many salons offer mini trims at a lower price, or you can visit a beauty school for an affordable yet professional cut. Whatever you choose, maintaining a regular trim schedule is one of the simplest ways to keep your hair looking polished, healthy, and full of life. And once you have the perfect cut, the next step is making sure you're not undoing your progress with too much heat styling. Regular trims can keep your hair looking fresh and healthy, but if you're constantly using heat styling tools, you might be undoing all that progress. Many women over 60 rely on curling irons, flat irons, or blow dryers to achieve a polished look, not realizing how much damage they're causing in the process. While these tools might have worked wonders in the past, mature hair is far more vulnerable to heat than it used to be. As we age, our hair naturally loses moisture and elasticity. When you apply intense heat, often over 300 degrees Fahrenheit, you're essentially cooking your hair from the inside out. The moisture inside each strand evaporates, leaving your hair brittle, frizzy, and prone to breakage. You may have noticed split ends forming faster than before, baby hairs around your hairline that aren't growing back, or a dull, lifeless texture despite using high-quality products. These are all signs of heat damage. Ellen, a 66-year-old client of mine, had flat-ironed her hair every single morning for years. When I suggested she cut back, she looked at me in disbelief. "But this is the only way I can control my hair," she said. So we made a deal. She would limit heat styling to once a week and try alternative techniques in between. Instead of blow drying, she let her hair air dry with a lightweight mousse for volume. Instead of her flat iron, she used large self-grip rollers for a soft, natural lift. 8 weeks later, she came back and couldn't believe the difference. Her hair had more shine, felt thicker, and, most importantly, she had shaved 20 minutes off her morning routine. "I never knew my natural texture could look this good," she told me. You don't have to give up heat styling completely, but moderation is key. If you must use heat, keep the temperature below 300 degrees.
Always use a heat protectant spray and never apply heat to damp hair. But the best thing you can do? Experiment with heat-free styling methods like braiding damp hair for soft waves or using foam rollers overnight. When you stop relying on excessive heat, your hair will not only look healthier, it will be healthier. And once you've mastered gentle styling techniques, the next step is making sure you're working with your hair's natural patterns instead of fighting against them. Reducing heat styling can do wonders for your hair's health, but there's another mistake many women make without even realizing it: fighting against their natural growth pattern. Have you ever spent time carefully parting your hair, smoothing it down, or forcing it into a style only to have it shift back throughout the day? That's because your hair has a natural way it wants to fall, and the more you fight it, the more frustration you create. Every woman has unique growth patterns, just like a fingerprint. Some have a strong side part, a cowlick at the hairline, or a natural lift at the crown. In your younger years, your hair had more weight and density to help hold a forced style in place. But as we age and our hair becomes finer, these patterns become more pronounced. That's why a part that once worked beautifully might suddenly look flat, or why your bangs never seem to sit the way they used to. Instead of battling against these natural tendencies, the secret is to work with them. Dorothy, a 78-year-old former flight attendant, had been trying to force a center part for decades because she believed it gave her face more balance. But every afternoon, she'd find herself frustrated, tucking strands back into place as they inevitably shifted to the side. When I suggested embracing her natural side part, she hesitated. "I've spent over 50 years trying to train my hair differently," she laughed. But the moment we designed a cut that complemented her natural part, she saw the difference. "Who knew surrender could be so liberating?" she said, admiring her reflection. "If you're unsure about your natural growth pattern, try this. Wash your hair and let it air dry without touching it. Notice where it naturally parts, which way it sweeps, and how it sits around your face. Instead of forcing a different style, ask your stylist to create a cut that enhances these natural movements. If you have a stubborn cowlick, keeping that section slightly longer can help it lay more smoothly. If your part has shifted with age, embracing this change can actually add volume and create a more flattering shape. When you stop working against your hair and start working with it, styling becomes easier, your hair looks more natural, and you save yourself endless frustration. And once you've embraced your natural patterns, the next step is choosing a style that truly flatters your face shape. Embracing your hair's natural growth patterns can make styling easier, but to truly bring out your best features, you need a haircut that complements your face shape. One of the most common mistakes women make at any age is choosing a hairstyle without considering how it frames their face. As we get older, this becomes even more important. The right cut can enhance your bone structure, soften fine lines, and create balance, while the wrong one can do the opposite. As we age, our facial contours shift. Cheeks may lose fullness, jawlines might soften, and certain features can become more pronounced. A hairstyle that once looked great in your 40s or 50s may no longer be the most flattering choice. The key is to work with these natural changes, not against them. Catherine, a 69-year-old client, had worn the same blunt shoulder-length cut for decades. She liked the simplicity of it, but felt like something was off. When we pulled her hair back and analyzed her face shape, it became clear her heart-shaped face needed softer layers around her jawline to create better balance. We added gentle layers and side-swept bangs, and the transformation was immediate. My daughter asked if I'd had work done. She laughed. But no, it wasn't a facelift. It was just the power of a well-chosen haircut. So how do you know what works best for you? If you have a round face, styles with height at the crown and length below the chin help create a more elongated look. Heart-shaped faces benefit from side-swept bangs and volume near the jawline to balance a narrower chin. Square faces are softened by layers that start around the cheekbones, adding movement and breaking up strong angles. If you have a long face, adding bangs or volume at the sides helps create a more balanced appearance. The goal isn't to completely change your face shape, it's to enhance your natural beauty. A small adjustment in your cut can make a world of difference. And once you've found the perfect style, the next step is making sure you're not damaging your hair with overly tight hairstyles that put unnecessary strain on your scalp. Finding the right haircut for your face shape can make a world of difference. But if you're constantly pulling your hair back into tight styles, you could be causing damage without even realizing it. Many women rely on sleek ponytails, tight buns, or pinned-up hairstyles to keep their hair neat and out of the way. It might seem harmless, but over time, these styles can lead to a serious issue: traction alopecia. Unlike natural hair thinning, which happens with age, traction alopecia is caused by repeated tension on the hair follicles. The constant pulling weakens the roots, leading to breakage and, in some cases, permanent hair loss. You might start to notice thinning along your hairline, at your temples, or behind your ears, areas where the tension is strongest. Some women even experience scalp soreness or frequent headaches without realizing their hairstyle is to blame. Jennifer, a 74-year-old former executive, came to me deeply concerned about her receding hairline. She had always worn her hair in a tight chignon for work, never thinking twice about it. Over the years, the hair around her temples had become noticeably sparse, and no amount of volumizing product could hide it. I encouraged her to make a simple change, switching from tight buns to soft low styles and using fabric-covered hair ties instead of traditional elastics.
4 months later, she returned to my salon with a smile. "I actually see new hair growing in," she told me, relieved that something as small as loosening her hairstyle had made such a difference. The good news is that traction alopecia is preventable and often reversible if caught early. Instead of pulling your hair back tightly, try looser styles like soft buns secured with pins, low ponytails with gentle scrunchies, or side braids with minimal tension. Using silk or satin pillowcases at night can also reduce friction, helping to prevent breakage while you sleep. Your scalp needs to move and breathe just like the rest of your skin. By giving your hair a break from excessive tension, you're not just protecting it, you're allowing it to grow healthier and stronger. And once you've made this simple change, the next step is learning how to embrace accessories that can enhance your style without causing damage. Protecting your hair from tight hairstyles can help prevent breakage and thinning, but there's another secret to elevating your look: accessories. Many women overlook the power of a well-chosen clip, headband, or scarf, thinking of them as afterthoughts rather than essentials. But the truth is, the right accessory can transform your hairstyle, add sophistication, and even help disguise common hair concerns. I've seen it time and time again in my salon. Women come in feeling frustrated with their hair, convinced they need a drastic change. But sometimes, all they need is a little styling trick to regain confidence. A strategically placed clip can add volume to thinning hair. A silk scarf can cover awkward regrowth or add a touch of effortless elegance. A well-chosen headband can pull together an entire look, giving the impression of a polished, intentional style. Diane, a 76-year-old former art professor, discovered this firsthand. After undergoing chemotherapy, she lost much of her hair, and even as it grew back, it was much finer and sparser than before. She felt self-conscious, unsure of how to style it. I introduced her to scarves, not as a way to hide, but as a way to express herself. She started collecting them in vibrant colors and patterns, tying them in different ways to complement her outfits. Soon, people weren't commenting on her hair loss. They were complimenting her style. "It became my signature look," she told me with pride. Hair accessories aren't just for covering up. They're tools of self-expression. For professional or formal settings, a tortoiseshell clip or an elegant comb can add refinement without looking overly youthful. For casual outings, a soft headband or a decorative barrette can bring effortless charm. And for those embracing their natural silver strands, silver-enhancing treatments paired with a sleek accessory can create a strikingly sophisticated appearance. The key is to be intentional.
Accessories should enhance your look, not overwhelm it. A small touch, a clip here, a scarf there, can be enough to breathe new life into your hairstyle. And the best part? It requires no commitment, no damage, and no drastic changes. Just a little creativity and confidence. Your hair tells a story, and accessories help you shape that story in a way that feels uniquely you. When you embrace them, you're not just adding to your hairstyle, you're elevating your entire look. Your hair is more than just strands. It's part of your identity, your confidence, and the way you present yourself to the world. But as we age, it's easy to fall into habits that no longer serve us. The wrong haircut, outdated styles, excessive heat, or even using the same products we swore by decades ago can all contribute to hair that feels lifeless, unmanageable, or not quite you. The good news? With a few small changes, you can transform not just your hair, but how you feel about yourself. I've seen it happen countless times. Women walk into my salon feeling frustrated, convinced that their best hair days are behind them. But by making simple adjustments, choosing a more flattering cut, embracing a softer hair color, switching to nourishing products, or adding the right accessory, they begin to see themselves in a whole new light. The way they stand a little taller, smile a little brighter, or walk out with a newfound confidence reminds me of one simple truth. Beautiful hair isn't about looking younger. It's about looking your best at any age. So take a moment to reflect. Are you holding on to an old routine that isn't working for you anymore? Have you been styling your hair the same way for years without considering how your face, texture, and needs have changed? If so, now is the time to embrace something new. Change doesn't have to be drastic. Even the smallest tweaks, a fresh trim, a new parting, a nourishing shampoo, can make an incredible difference. And most importantly, don't be afraid to celebrate who you are today. Your beauty isn't behind you, it's right here, in this moment. The goal isn't to turn back time, but to step forward with confidence, knowing that your hair reflects the vibrant, strong, and radiant woman you've become. Which of these changes will you start with? I'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more beauty tips designed to help you shine at every stage of life.